See families doing that no more.
Then you don't. Get rid of everything that's underneath and just start over. And then the fun part, the steering.
Hating myself already for coming up with another one of these ideas.
1966 Cobra replica. Missed the roll bar. For looks and for safety. So it's going to be a little more complicated than I thought. We got to create the structure underneath to hold all this together. This will make it or break it. Yeah! I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal. Is important to me, but some builds, they just take me back. Hey, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing? Scott. Bill?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
This thing's cool. It's definitely unique.
1965 Ford Falcon.
My dad used to have one similar to that, man. I learned how to drive down this road, and I was sitting up in his lap, and I remember steering this thing and not going anywhere.
Yeah, right. That's about what it is now.
The Falcon was Ford's answer to the VW bus in the 1960s. Unlike the VW, the engine isn't in the back. It's right in between the driver and the passenger seat.
I brought it here to let you work your magic. Ooh. I got two little ones and try to take like 3 weeks vacation on the road a year driving around, get out and see the country.
That's really cool. So you need something comfortable, reliable, and safe.
And cool.
And cool.
Getting my daughter and son excited about custom cars and maybe have them riding around in something custom someday. It's a cool thought.
Let's check this thing out.
All right.
Man, this thing's really nice in here. But just not for put your family in and go across the country on.
My wife will not drive cross country in this car with me.
What kind of engine's in this
When'd
thing?
you see this?
That's definitely not going to cut it. We might as well give it some power for Dad on the weekends.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. An engine change out is an absolute necessity. It has to be something that, I can actually keep up with traffic these days.
You know, the dash, we'll start over, put new gauges in it. AC.
It'd be nice to have a little AC.
As far as the running gear, we just need to get rid of everything that's underneath this thing and just start over. New engine, trans, independent front suspension, rack and pinion. Make this thing drive right, because I know it's all over the road right now. Let's check out the rest of this thing. You got plenty of room in it.
A lot of studio space in there.
Yeah. You're wanting something nice, comfortable for the family, for the kids in the back. You want like TVs, iPads, anything like that?
No TVs. Stereo, music would be cool. We got to think about it being unplugged back here. Use the windows as the screens.
You know, I get where Scott's coming from. Totally unplugging, getting out, seeing the road, and letting the family enjoy what's out there. I wish my kids could do that. Let's go make it happen.
Great.
Worse than rolling up to the rest stop and seeing the exact same vehicle with a different family in it. But Scott's got it figured out. A van for the family and a cool custom van for old Dad. Why get something that everybody else has? Customizing a car, a truck, there's a little restrictions, but when you're customizing a van, there's a lot of room for improvement. There's endless possibilities for something truly custom. Come on in, buddy.
What is this?
Thing's cool, huh?
This thing's real cool.
Scott is going to use this thing to take his family all around the country.
Man, you really don't see families doing that no more, just getting together and hanging out and driving.
Then you don't. So we're going to make something really cool, comfortable, and dependable. Something they can take from state to state to state. This thing's got some miles on it. No motor. It's definitely seen better days. We got to change the power plant. I'm thinking it's a Ford truck, so we got to stick with the Ford engine. Let's go with the Eco Boost and plenty of power, super sporty. He'll love to drive this. Hey, check this out, man. See, look at this.
Yeah, it needs some suspension work, huh?
It needs a little bit of suspension work. We're going to go through this whole thing, front to back bumper, nice rack and pinion on this thing, and something that's really stable and tight and fun to drive. Going from that, reconfigure the dash. He wants AC in it, of course. With all this glass in it, It's going to get super hot. You know, this interior, man, has got a ton of room. This is going to take some work really dialing it in. So Heath and John really got to get creative, use this space wisely, and make it comfortable for the whole family to be in it.
You sure you want to give Heath and J-Live just free reign to do whatever they want here?
No, there'll be taco sauce all over this thing.
4 disco balls and 15 speakers right here.
This is a cool ride, right?
Yeah, it is, man.
You check that thing out. Hey, there's so much room.
Before we cut out any of the old suspension, I asked John and Will to take out the interior so we don't have any fires.
There we go.
All right, you take that. I'll go put these in a bag.
You can never have enough bags. It's so important to label everything, every little section of the vehicle that you're taking apart. And the reason is, when you go to put it back together, you're always questioning, what did this bolt do? And so the better you label now, the more time you'll save later, and the more professional your job will be.
Man, vehicles have came a long way since this was made, huh?
Mm-hmm.
First thing we're going to do on this is just rip out all the suspension, motor, trans, rear end, the whole drivetrain. Let's have a bare van body underneath this thing. Let me start fresh.
Cool. This van's got problems, I got solutions. I just got the leaf springs cut out and the shocks cut off. Go ahead and raise it up and this thing should just fall right out. I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the front. Since we're going to be pulling the transmission and the engine together, I'm going to go ahead and pop our transmission linkage, shifter linkage, all that stuff. Take a couple bolts out on the bottom. Things should come out pretty easy. Now I got the big factors out of the way. I can come through here and just tear this thing down completely.
Looks good. We're ready to get going on the suspension on this thing. We want this to sit really low, set this thing on the ground with the, we're gonna have to do a notch in the unibody here and build notch plates on this structure. We'll build the notch, we'll get the rear end back in this thing, and we'll start building the 2-link suspension on this. Cool. Make a hole. This whole van is a unibody construction. What that means, there's no full frame underneath this. The frame is actually built into the body, which gives it the strength and rigidity. All this is in the way, so we're going to start by cutting all this out, get our cross member in, and then we'll go back to connecting it all back together as one.
So you see the line, how everything lines up with the top of the frame rail. This is exactly how we want it. Perfect line, straight across. It's going to be level with the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. Once I get this tacked in, I can cut the bottoms of that off to where they're even with the frame. Now that I got the ends cut off, I'm going to go ahead and make all the pieces to box this in. It's all going to be out of flat bar, same size, same thickness. So I'm going to make everything all at one time. I'm just boxing in the C-notch right now. Just all those pieces I cut out on the iron worker, tacking them in, making sure everything's square and true. And just get this all tacked in, weld it up, then I'll be ready to cut out the center.
We're far out now, Ryan.
Huh?
You never heard Romeo and Juliet, huh?
That was before my time.
You know, this old Ford Falcon van came with a straight front axle. We're going to convert it to an independent front suspension. Ryan finished the notch on the rear end. Now he's making space for the new front suspension and the cross member.
Alright, so everything's cut out and the cross member is marked up in there, but you can see the direction that we're going to take this. So I'm going to piece everything back to this center section. Basically just start off with these pieces, make them connect, get the side pieces in there, tack everything together, weld everything out, and then we can move on to building our steering, control arms, and everything else.
You know, when a vehicle rolls up this nice, creativity to focus on the details. Things you might not even realize, we customize. So when we're done, you wouldn't even imagine it any other way. What's happening?
Hello, how you doing?
Hey man, good. Juan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You got the little Cobra, huh?
Yes, sir.
But this thing looks fun, a little replica.
It is a little replica.
You know, these cars are super cool. Original Cobras, 7 figures. Even the replicas are 6 figures. Real or fake, it's still a pretty cool car. What do you got under the hood?
Let's go ahead and take a look.
Man, a little Chevy big block, huh?
Yes, sir.
I definitely wasn't expecting that.
A lot of people usually don't expect that when they see it. It's a 454, plus it has a 400 turbo transmission.
Well, I already know this thing has plenty of power.
That's one of the reasons why I'm here. I need something for protection, something for safety.
It's got that much power?
It feels that way to me.
I can definitely see a roll bar back here. You know, that's one thing it's definitely lacking. And for looks and for safety.
I like it.
I think to really get the feel of it, to really see what you need, I might need to drive this myself and kind of see how it feels, you know what I mean?
Hop on it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, when you're building safety equipment, see what the car feels like.
Sure that when I came in, Bill already knew what I was really looking for. Any excuse to get it out on the open road, hey, it's fine by me.
This thing rides good, handles good, looks good. But I definitely see what you mean. You know, at times it feels kind of squirrely and unsafe for sure, because it has so much power. I appreciate you letting me drive this thing, really getting a feel for it. It actually does help with the concept of the styling of the car.
Yeah, that's the only true way to get an understanding and seeing the need for it.
For sure.
Or maybe, yeah, it does need it. That was something, wasn't it?
This thing's fun to drive for sure. We'll take care of it for you, man.
I appreciate it.
Let's go do some paperwork.
Thanks, sir.
You know, when you think roll bar, it's just a straight bar with 2 bends and comes down in protection. When you're designing a roll bar for such an iconic sports car, that's a totally different subject. That not only safety in mind, but something that's totally stylish, and with every angle you look at it, you want the design of the roll bar to flow with the rest of the car.
Oh, here it is. It's not bad, not bad. What are we gonna do to it?
We're gonna body drop it.
Come on.
No, man. I mean, you see, this thing's missing something.
Missed the roll bar.
You know, this has a big block Chevy in it, runs super good. If he's not paying attention, he's gonna need some extra protection in this thing for sure.
Definitely. That's a good idea.
You've seen the ones with the loop back here, the big bar in the back. We don't want that. We want something that has clean lines with it, something that emulates the front curvature of the glass. So when you're behind this thing, it just matches perfect. And not only from the rear angle or the front angle, from the side too. We want to slope this thing so it all flows together. Once we get it all done, we're going to chrome it too, so it matches front and rear bumpers.
So I understand the idea you want to do. How are we going to angle this down to the frame?
Man, we're just going to put some plates here and bolt it to the fiberglass so it looks cool.
I know better than that.
No. You know, I haven't taken all this apart to really see how to tie it in yet. You know, that's what we need to do next. Strip it out and strip the trunk for a solid foundation.
Okay.
All we're going to do is get to it.
Yeah, let's do it. It's kind of crazy. That's what holds the seatbelt on. All right, last piece. All I got left to do is pull this carpet, this padding behind it. Then we'll kind of be ready to start figure out how we're gonna put the roll bar in here safe, and then we'll worry about how we're gonna style it.
Oh, got it, huh?
Yeah,
That's it. Man, there's just nothing to tie anything to.
No.
Not only are we going to have to create the roll bar itself, we got to create the structure underneath to hold all this together. So it's going to be a little more complicated than I thought. You can't mount anything to just fiberglass. You got to have a backing support. Perfect. Going to the frame to really make everything super strong and super safe.
All right, man. It's in there.
Then we got our foundation. This is going to be, you know, like the cherry on top of this whole car. Let's get this cut. This will make it or break it. Didn't want to put a roll bar way back here in the back. In my opinion, it looks a total afterthought.
That looks better already.
Right? I want lean and flowing, so we had to cut the corner of the body out. It's a real subtle difference. I mean, that's what you want. When this thing is done and finished and painted, you will never know it was ever messed with because the lines are still going to flow and look like it was originally made like that. We're going to roll this pipe so everything has the same flow. So the same arc for the roll bar as it does for the windshield. So we want something that all plays together. Cool. See, we got our line and our square little box here. So we have 48 inches from here to here, and that's the widest point of the car. So we have to bend this so it fits in this box. Then we know when we take it over to that car, it's gonna fit. This might be a replica of a 1966 Cobra, but it's got a real deal 454 Chevy Big Block. So the roll bar we're making, it has to protect the passengers above all, while also looking like the Cobra should have from the factory. It's got a pretty damn good flow. Maybe a quarter measure all day long, but especially something like this, it's pretty damn close. Everybody's gonna be looking at it. They're not gonna be measuring it.
Did you ever get in trouble for standing on the couch?
You really want to check every angle. Sit in it real quick, Jim. You want to really get back and get a feel for the overall car itself in relation to what you're building to it. That looks real good.
I like it. It looks nice.
Let's tack this sucker on. The next step of this thing to make it one whole unit is connecting the outer plate to the inner plate and making that plate go all the way down to the frame. We have our plates on the frame, so the next thing is making the pipe from plate to plate. So we're gonna put the wheel on, drop it down. Let's see where this thing rides at and how much room we have in between the wheel and the bracket. We definitely don't want the tire to rub. That would definitely cause a blowout, and we don't want to test out our roll cage that quickly. Engine on a 1965 Ford Falcon only had 85 horsepower. On the plus side, it was fairly compact horsepower. That thing's cool. A little 4-cylinder, huh?
4-cylinder, 2.3 liter twin scroll turbo, 300 plus horsepower.
Man, that is bad.
They're putting these things in the Mustangs, Ford F-150s. Guys at the track are killing it with them.
That's the perfect combination for this little project.
It is.
Watch your ankles. This thing's light enough where we can just manhandle it up in there from the bottom. Scoot it this way a little bit.
Which way? Forward?
I think you might have to get the lube out, buddy.
It's close or what? Yeah.
How's it looking back there?
That's all I got. I'm touching the floor back here.
Okay, forward.
This side there. Go right there. Good.
Fits in there good. Gotta make the doghouse a little wider. I don't know if we need to make it taller or anything. Let's get the rack on this thing and make sure all this is going to work. And then the fun part, the steering. It's looking real good. Got the radiator in, rack mounted.
Looking all right. You see what I'm looking at, though?
Yeah, you know the next thing is coming. And you got the column out here. The wheels are way out here. It's super easy to connect the rack to the steering.
Yeah.
But on this, we're going to have to connect the column all the way back here to the rack.
It might not seem that hard, but out of all the ones that I've done over the years, I've never had to deal with this.
Yeah. Anytime you see it when it's done, you go, oh, that's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's figuring it out and getting it to that point.
Exactly.
Always like a challenge.
Yeah, of course.
Let's drop it down.
All right.
What we're doing right now is just putting the column in its place. So everything needs to be mocked up. You know where everything's at before you can start anything. This is just where the factory alignment was. We put it back in the original spot. So next thing is to lift this thing up and start making the snake. You see how much room we have here is not very much at all. So we got the column as far into the van as possible, but it's still a little too long. Let's cut the end of the column off. All right. And then we're going to drill a hole in it all the way through. All right. We're going to cut you a little piece of the double D. So we'll use this little knuckle here. But we can start with this once it's at the bottom of the column. Ain't gonna work. I've never used a double knuckle like that before, and man, it's just lining up.
I haven't either.
The main thing you look for when you're figuring out a steering shaft is make sure all the U-joints aren't in a bind. You want it to be smooth, free, and clear, and double knuckle is too many moving parts all at once. There's no stabilization in something like that, so it's just gonna flop all around. So it's one frustration after another, right?
Oh, man, you said it.
Because we changed the 1965 Ford Falcon van to independent front suspension, we knew getting the steering configuration was going to be a lot of trial and error.
What's up, fellas? Look what I got here.
Buddy? Oh.
Fresh out the box.
That's what we need. A 90-degree small gearbox. Hopefully, when we turn left, it goes left. When we turn right, it goes right.
If your calculations are correct.
We'll see once we get all this in.
Cool.
That's how I deliver.
Appreciate it, Tom.
See ya.
It's going to make life a lot easier.
Let's pull the column back. Let's get this in place and slip.
As far as I can go up without taking everything apart.
Up towards the bump. Not quite that far. All right, that's it. Hold it right there just a second. Cool, let's make the bracket for this and just continue the snake.
I'm making a bracket for this steering box to hold it exactly where we want. Just take a couple pieces of cardboard, make your template, get exactly how you want it, and then boom, go over there and make it in no time.
Yeah. Turn to the right. That's exactly what we needed. Problem solved, man.
I love hearing those words.
Man, it works good.
Awesome.
You know, I was super nervous about how we going to get this to here. Never done that before. It looks simple now, you know, once it's done, but ingenuity behind it, there's a little bit of figuring. Button it up, let's get it to the body shop.
Cool.
The roll bar is getting chromed on the 1966 Cobra replica. However, there's one thing still bothering me. There's just a hole drilled in. I mean, I don't get it. I can't believe somebody thought that's a good idea and that would be safe. We have to address this. We're going to come up with a way to make a little bracket to tie it into the frame. And that way, this thing is safe and secure, and it's a total, complete, safe package. I'll be really comfortable putting a seatbelt on that now. It's not just the seat belts, the seats are also bolted to the fiberglass. So we're going to fix that too with some new brackets.
All right, everything looks good. It's all welded in. Should be nice and safe now.
We're going to push this thing in for a quick body and paint. And then we're going to install the freshly chrome roll bar.
I'll hand it to you over the car.
Don't scratch nothing. Why'd you have to make it so perfect, Jamie?
We got this build as cool as we can make it. It not only looks better, but what's really important, this thing is a lot safer than when it pulled up. That's how I'd want it for my family, for sure. What's up, man?
Good morning, Mr. Bill. How you doing?
Good morning, man. Real good. You ready?
I'm ready as I'm going to be.
I know when you came in, you had a couple issues with that car. The car looked cool, but there was nothing to keep you safe in that thing. We got you definitely hooked up on this.
That's the reason why I came here.
You ready to check it out?
I'm ready.
Jamie, let's get it.
Ooh, look at that. Man, that's exactly what I was looking for. Classy, elegant, and unique. Seeing the car for the first time, it was like, wow, it's Christmas for me again. Woo-wee. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So you're liking it?
I'm liking it.
Safety was your major concern on this. We addressed that for sure. Built something not only safe for you, but stylish. Rolled some pipe, made it the same contour as the windshield, and also the same angle as the windshield. We actually notched out the corners of the body itself to give the roll bar a little more room in between the seat and the body. So everything just flows together.
I didn't even notice until you mentioned it. I mean, it looks like it was that way already.
Right. It's tough to come up with something new on such an iconic car, but as you can see, it's exactly what he wanted. It's all super strong and tied to the frame. While we're underneath the car, we definitely noticed a lot of safety issues underneath this thing.
Blew my mind when I seen this. The seat belts were just drilled through the fiberglass body, just holding in with an anchor and a washer, and that was it.
Man, we couldn't let you roll out like that. All this hard work would have been for nothing if you would have just been ejected out of the car if something would have happened.
You're right about that. I mean, it would have been with this kind of heat, be like scrambled eggs on the sidewalk.
So we went ahead and reinforced it with metal, made everything strong, tied to the frame. Now it's really safe.
That's why I knew that I had to come here. If you would have seen something that was not going to be done right, you're going to handle it and do it right. Safety was my big concern. Now, I can definitely say I feel safe now.
You wouldn't think just a roll bar would give you a different attitude about something. In this case, it definitely does. You feel safer, more confident, and it looks good.
I just want to say thank you to Bill and all his men here at Extensive. They did a phenomenal job. They went ahead and they put a bolt right here, so that way the belt is actually on the frame.
But now you're safe.
Every time I got in the car, I used to be nervous. You don't want to sit on the other side with me? Now I really feel safe. That too. I got the wind in my hair.
We gave the Falcon van a custom air ride, a new steering configuration, and an engine swap. Now the body guys are going to prep the cab for paint. What I don't want it to look like is some 70s peace van, with fluorescent colors or something like that. I do kind of like that. I wanted my first truck kind of that color. It's just fitting to have, the kids have their say-so in the color of the whole truck. I picked a couple of colors because I don't want this van looking cheesy. You don't want a loud, fluorescent, off-the-wall color that next year is going to get old on you. It's a family heirloom. It's going to be passed down to them. So if they pick the wrong color, they're stuck with it no matter what. They picked it. A huge part of the custom world is dads handing down their passion for cars to their kids. That's how we keep this whole thing going. So we just love how Scott's getting it. What's happening?
Hi, Bill. Nice to see you.
I got Heath here. Hi, guys.
Hi, Heath.
You guys ready to pick some colors? He's so shy.
Ready? This is the brown.
No, I don't like the brown.
Okay. There's a green. The green looks cool.
I like the green. Let's see what's next.
Got like a tan, like a goldish tan.
Oh, man.
All right, there we go. All three of them at once.
So vote for my favorite one.
I like green.
Green's your favorite, Cole? What's your favorite?
My favorite is tan.
Your favorite is tan.
All right, Scott, you're the tiebreaker.
Maybe we could do green layers.
So I think it's going to be green.
Green it is. You got it. It's a great choice.
All right, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Hey, it was nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
Green it is. You know, all honesty, that was the color I was hoping they picked. This green is really going to make the whole thing stand out. With so much space in this van, the sky's the limit. And that's what I asked John to do.
This thing is as big as the sky, so we're going to do a starlight headliner on it. I'm going to start when I go to put in the fiber optic lights. I'm actually going to be using a needle to poke holes in this, so I need something that's thin enough and easy enough to get through, but yet still strong enough to help hold the form and shape. Hey, look at that. It stayed together. Now that we got the headliner all built, wrapped, and ready to go, the next thing we got to do is we got to install the fiber optic lighting. To do that, I'm going to have to take these fiber optic strands here and I have to poke individual holes for every one of them. I've got 780 of them here. I better get started. I want to try to get this thing done before the real stars come out. There's really no easy way to go about this. It's just going to be time consuming and just got to sit here and do it. You know, it's just going to matter of poking all these holes and running everything through. But the final product will be so worth it. And I think it's really going to have that wow factor.
Rather than using the old windows on that fresh paint, Chad's going to make some new ones by hand.
Okay, what we're doing here is they don't produce a lot of these windows, and it's hard to find one that's in a good shape with no scratches, so we have to make our own. This glass here is actually laminate glass. It's 2 pieces of glass with a piece of lamination, cracks it, it doesn't shatter. And what I'm doing now is I'm scoring the glass to get through the first layer. Well, the glass is really a delicate material, so what I have to do is I have to get in here and I have to break it through. Now what we're doing is we're taking some denatured alcohol and we're softening up the lamination in the center so I can cut through it and get a better finish. There we go. It's time to put it in and see what it looks like. Well, what I'm doing is I'm sitting it inside the lip here, and then I gotta tuck a rope on the inside so I can tuck the lip around the pin flow. And we're locking the gasket in. What I'm looking for is making sure there's no imperfections, and the gasket is tucked nice against the vehicle. It's looking good, so it's time to move on to the next one.
After 4 long days of dealing with this and poking all these holes, finally have them all in. As you can see, there's a ton of fiber optics here. What this is basically, that is cast down through the fiber optics, and anywhere that you cut it off at, as you can see, the ends of it will light up. I'm only going to do this 780 times. About halfway there. 780. All right, let's see what this thing looks like. It's looking stellar, you could say. Kids should love it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be like camping out at night.
Yeah, just riding along, looking at the stars. All we got left to do now is get this thing installed in the van and get all the trim work in around it.
You know, it's pretty cool. I think back of all the days growing up with my dad, working with my dad. He loved welding and fabricating, you know, and taught me that skill set. And I applied that to the car aspect.
Totally opposite.
Totally opposite for you. Your dad
Was everything into it, but not a welder, fabricator, nothing like that.
Me and him are a lot alike. My dad's all in the cars. I would have rather been in the shop with my dad getting dirty rather than sitting at home on the couch.
you know, they inspired us and footprint on our children.
Dude, my kid's 4 next month, and he's really taking a liking to all this stuff. It'll be really cool, you know, to see him kind of follow my footsteps.
That's it. Keep it going.
Keep it going, man.
The most important part is showing your kids your passion for something.
Yeah, it just gives them a little want to, you know what I mean? You gotta have that want to. If you don't care to do anything, you're never gonna be good at anything.
Thanks, Dad. You know, the Starry Night headliner is definitely one-of-a-kind touch, and it just adds all the customization that we've already done to that 65 Ford Falcon van.
That's pretty crooked board. When I finished up the Starry Night headliner in the van, I thought I was done poking holes, but as I sat there, I thought about a way we can incorporate the starlights into the seats as well. I think I'm hating myself already for coming up with another one of these ideas and these fiber optics, but it'll be worth it in the end. Got this Peruvian walnut all carved out and ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a hand router and create the pocket inside of it. You know, with this thing being handmade, it really looks like it belongs in a 1965 Ford Falcon van. You know, back then, there were still a lot of the cars that were handmade. Now I have to drill 200 holes to run my fiber optics through. I was talking about how I thought I'd learned my lesson on the first go-around with these things, but no. Just going to trim these back. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool effect having them in the seats. Kind of seamless all the way from the ceiling into the seats. That's something I've never seen before. So next thing I got to do is pour the epoxy. I want it to match the seats. So I got some dye mixed up to match the leather in the van. I'm going to take my epoxy and get it mixed up. We'll get the color in it, and we'll pour this in there and let it dry. The trick here is to make sure to not overfill it, so just kind of evenly distributing it. You definitely don't want it running out all over the place, so. All right, now that I got the seats all covered and everything, the next thing I got to do is just get the nerve up and cut this thing open. Oh, it's a sickening feeling. It'll so be worth it. Just got to remember that. It'll be worth it. So once I get this all glued in here, then we'll get the emblem in it.
Man, this looks good, dude.
Yeah, man, I think it turned out real nice.
And they're gonna love it, dude.
Well worth it, you know. I can't wait to get it to the kids and let them see this thing.
God and his family have been waiting a long time for this van, and I know they're ready to get it back. Scott's a really busy guy running his construction company up in Chicago, so we're going to ship this van straight up to him. Since this is a family van, I thought I'd ask my kids just to get their take on it, see if it's cool. You guys ready to go home?
Yeah.
Yeah. Been working hard today?
Yeah.
Hey, before we go, I want you to check out something. We just built a van for a customer in Chicago. We got to ship this thing back. But before we do, I want your guys' opinion on this, see how good we did.
Okay, let's go check it out.
You want to see it? Yeah, let's go do it. Come on. Come on. So I want your guys' honest opinion, okay?
Okay.
Not just because I'm your dad. I want you to really tell me what you think, okay? Yes, sir.
We've seen a lot of like what our dad does around here. He just never really asks for our opinions.
This must be like a pretty special one. John's bringing this thing out right now. It's going to be here any second. You know, the moment of truth, I hope they like this. Like it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's really cool.
The green makes it so good. You know, when this van came in, it was in decent shape, but it wasn't in this good a shape. We had to rip out all the old suspension, and we put brand new air suspension on this thing. With rack and pinion steering, it drives like a modern car should. The way it sits like really low to the ground, it's so cool. Right? Yeah. It gives a new little attitude. You know, we spent a lot of time on the suspension and steering on this van, but you know, the kids would never know that. That's all they want to see is just this thing go down the ground and get really low. And the old engine just wasn't cutting it either, so we got a brand new 4-cylinder turbocharged in this thing.
That's cool.
That's why you hear that nice little blow-off valve when it comes up. It goes, it's got plenty power. Oh, course, we had to have upgraded brakes, big wheels, freshened up all the paint, and all new chrome.
And I really like the color. I think it makes the van pretty unique.
His kids picked that color out.
They got good taste.
Yeah.
You know, I spent a lot of time on this interior thinking about my kids, his kids, me personally. I love it, but I can't wait to see what you guys think about it. You want to check it out?
Yeah.
Check this out.
Oh, that is very.
I like the lights.
The stars make that so nice.
John's got a lot of time in this thing.
I spent at least a week poking holes and running lights. By the end of it, I was done with it.
Right.
It looks worth it.
It was well worth it. I'm very happy with it.
That being in this van made it 10 times cooler.
That's stuff we don't see every day in a van.
You guys get in there and check it out.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
They're really comfortable.
Right?
Yeah. I love how many windows there are.
The lights look better up close too.
You know, you guys are so busy looking up there, you didn't even notice there's no TVs and no screens anywhere in here, right? The whole point of this is family time.
Yeah.
Just being focused on family and the trip and spending time together and not on your phones or, you know, watching a video.
I think these guys' kids are definitely going to enjoy, have lots of fun adventures and trips in this van.
I'm already jealous that they get to take a ride in that.
This is my favorite car that you built.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess we did pretty good, John.
That's why you gotta make us one.
John did most of the work.
I got my kids' seal of approval, so I know Scott's kids are definitely going to love this van. You know, look at the overall van, the interior. Man, I love this little van. And Scott, I can't wait for you to take your family on the road and really hear about those trips you're going to take together. If you're ever road tripping through Little Step.
So how much more money do I owe you?
This little puny bumper, and I ain't going to cut it. This thing's finally starting to look like something.
1934 Buick.
It looks perfect. I'll tell her we're cutting this up. We'll take this original engine out, put a late model Chevy in it.
We're gonna piss some people off.
We're gonna show it the respect it deserves.
Get some shocks in here.
He wants this thing to be able to drop on the ground also.
Holy that's beautiful. And it's not yellow.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
That's them, huh?
That's it, man.
8-inch springs?
Yes, sir.
That's what we need. It's perfect. It's going to put this thing in the perfect ride height. Let's go ahead and get these things underneath here. Get little one. Let's knock this thing out. Let's get it bolted up. Everything is extra large on this 1996 International dump truck. It's one of the biggest builds we've ever done size-wise.
All right, let's go.
We have these leaf springs arched an extra 8 inches. You know, it's not every day we get to convert a huge old work truck into a show-quality, flatbed, militaristic truck. But man, when we're done, there's not going to be another one like it.
That was kind of difficult.
That was a little difficult. You ready for the next one?
Hey, yeah, let's do it real quick. I know that look.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to do to the dump truck. A lot. I mean, rear suspension, parallel 4-link with the big, huge triple convoluted bags.
You're doing the whole rear end, hangers, 4-link, bag mount, shock mount. It'll take twice as long to do the back of that truck.
Twice as long to do everything on the truck. Build the bumper, paint the thing, the whole interior.
Wasn't the engine really messed up?
Yes, that reminds me too. I put a call in with the one-way diesel guys. They're coming down, and they're going to tidy up the engine compartment and get this thing running good. At least we're getting a custom-made bed for it. It's going to be really cool. Front suspension's done, but, you know, everything's taking so much longer. Everything's bigger, heavier than we're normally working with.
I have a feeling you're fixing to tell me like you need it tomorrow or something.
We got a little time on it, but it's getting way, way behind for sure. Ready to go get after it?
Well, let's go.
Let's go do it, man.
We already tore the bed off, made and installed the hangers.
Now we can get going on the rear suspension. We got a super huge truck, so we need some super huge bag mount. You know, we usually use 3/16 D plates for the bag mounts, but on this one, you're gonna make bigger, thicker circle plates out of 5/16. This is the foundation of everything. This is gonna support every bit of the truck's weight, so this thing needs to be super strong. Then we'll have our spacer to simulate the bag when it's at ride height. To mount that up underneath the frame, where they're going to be. And this thing looks so beefy in the back. I want to continue the bag mounts to look beefy too. So I want something just mean looking, right?
Hell yeah.
So I think we ought to come right off the axle up to the bag mount, and then all the way across to the other bag mount, and then down to the axle.
Okay.
Just with two.
Got it.
We'll just bend it. We're not going to roll it or anything because it's a boxy truck, so we'll continue with just square bends. It's still going to look really cool and be really strong. Looking good, man. We got the diagonal link, got the 4-link, got the bag mounts. You know, one more step.
Shock time.
That's it. We need a bottomed out measurement of our shock. So that's why we made a quick jig. Makes it super easy to duplicate. You know, with the really large size of this truck, you know, it's going to need some good dampening shocks, especially with the big triple bellow bag. You want something that's going to control the bounciness. I mean, that's basically what a shock does. It controls the rebound of the suspension. You know, sometimes it just looks like we throw a shock in place. Oh, building suspensions, placing shocks. You learn what to do and what not to do, and you improve each and every time. Every vehicle is a little different as far as weight, the angle of the shock, how stiff the shock is, relating to the weight of the vehicle, to what type of suspension, how long the suspension bars are. I mean, there's variables on everything. You know, we got some good stiff shocks at the proper angle. This thing's gonna ride really, really good.
Hey, man, what's going on?
A good trip for you?
Oh, absolutely. Great roads all the way up to Houston from Oklahoma.
Man, I sure appreciate you coming down.
I think we may have built exactly what you need for this build.
Cool, man. Let's check it out. A lot of times, we just build the new truck beds. But interest of time, I designed one that Billy made just for this truck. Man, first thing you notice is that big wheel well.
Exactly. I hope you got a big enough tire to fit this.
Definitely.
I'll tell you, man, when I saw the drawings, I was concerned, but I know you, it's all good. Got your gooseneck hitch, your receiver hitch built in, so be able to tow and haul with that big rig.
Yeah, this thing's cool. You know, this isn't off the shelf.
It's not off the shelf, I'll assure you. Certainly.
You off and get it on the truck. How much does this thing weigh, you think?
I don't know. I hadn't built it before.
What's going on, man?
Man, I need your help, buddy. This truck is just big, mean, huge lip, big tires. This little puny bumper.
Man, that ain't gonna cut it.
I want to leave the holes, the hooks, the bumper mounts, everything here.
Okay.
So all I'll have to do is split it right here, straight down here, and then straight across.
We'll just carry that all the way across.
We'll split it like that, and then all I have to do is add 8 inches in the middle. Put it all right back together.
I'm gonna go ahead and section it in the middle. We'll have a much more aggressive bumper that's gonna look perfect on this truck. All right, so I got my filler piece now to go ahead and connect my bottom of the bumper to the top of the bumper where I sectioned it. If I fit this properly, I won't have any issues down the road when I'm going to weld all this together. Because if it's not lined up, I'll be fighting the metal the whole time I'm welding it. All right, so I got my centerpiece in. I'm gonna go ahead and start tacking the edges right here to make it a perfect fit.
Okay, so I got the bumper looking pretty good. The 8-inch section in there. I'm really happy with the way it fit. So the next thing to do is go ahead and put the side pieces on. You just gotta do it by eye. I like that fancy footwork. It's pretty close. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack it in. So everything looks pretty good. Everything's welded solid. The next step is go ahead and mount it up to the truck and see how it looks.
The owner, John, wants a really unique truck. You know, one that can win trophies, but also get to work. So we're gonna add a winch behind the bumper. With something this size, you never know when you're gonna need one.
Okay, so now that I got the bumper mounted on here in section, everything's good on it. I'm gonna go ahead and start mounting my winch. Try to get the winch centered up somewhat behind the bumper. So first thing is to do is go ahead and start building the brackets and go ahead and mount the winch.
Man, that's perfect. Get this over to Rudy, get it burned out, and get it on the truck.
Winch bracket, I'm gonna go ahead and stick in the brake and put a 90-degree brake on it. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and bring it to the truck and fit it up. Now that I got my winch bracket bolted to my winch, so I'm going to go ahead and put some tack welds on it. Then I'll go ahead and put my bumper on it and check my clearance. So this is pretty much a slide for the cable. Basically, we're trying to center this up with the winch. We don't want it too high, we don't want it too low. We want it to be centered so when it winds up or unwinds, it's not in a bind. So it's pretty important to get this pretty close to the center of the winch, the drum, and then it'll be right. I overcut it just a little bit so the winch cable doesn't fray or catch on the metal. Pretty happy with it, looks good, looks right where it needs to be, so he'll be able to help people out or help himself out in a bind.
Transforming the overall look of this 1996 International dump truck is so now it's 9 feet long, which is about 3 feet shorter than it was. 9 foot, 109 inches. We're cutting the frame and boxing it in so it'll look like it came from the factory like this. Then it'll be just as strong. Close this gap up. You know, in the early days of a big build like this, it can be hard to see how we're going to turn the old dump truck into a mean military-looking truck. But you got to keep the faith and just make it happen bit by bit. You know, when a custom car guy and an antique come together, that's just a combination to make something really cool and over the top. You know, Javier's in a lowrider club. He's got to show up and show off. He's got to keep his rep up. We built a ton of cars for Javier, like this 46 Chevy right here. And anytime he calls, we're happy to help.
Hey, Bill. How's it going, man? Good to see you.
Hey, real good. Good to see you.
Man.
Good to see you. Man, your cars are looking good.
Oh, man, thanks. Remember this one?
Yeah, that thing's still looking good, too.
And you did a great job on that. I'm a welder by trade, and I know his welds are perfect. Funny to say that, but
you know.
And you've done 3 for me. I've got 1 more for you, though.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go.
Man, that's a good-looking car.
1934 Buick.
This thing's like new.
80 years old. I found it in North Carolina. Guy had it in the garage for years.
This thing was top of the line back in the day. You don't find many 1934 Buick Model 57s looking this original, this clean. Well, what do you want to do to this? I mean, it looks perfect.
You know, Bill, I like driving. And right now, I can't drive this thing. The car's not reliable. It overheats. So I want to be able to go where I want to go and not have any problems at all.
So what's under the hood now?
It's straight A. You want to look at it?
Wow, this thing is cool.
Pretty old, isn't it?
Straight 8, you don't see that a lot.
No.
So you want to take this original car, take this original engine out, and replace it with something else.
Bill, that's what I want to do.
This is one of the very few times that I'm a little hesitant about taking this car apart.
We're gonna piss some people off.
Definitely. Some people are gonna be mad.
You know, a lot of people don't like changing parts. They like to keep cars all original, but I like driving them. So
Original engine out, put a late model Chevy in it. That way you got your reliability, fuel economy, power, something you can just get in and drive wherever.
That's what I want, Bill.
That's what you're gonna get. If we're already going that far with this thing, we might as well put some air suspension on this thing and get it down really low. I know how you and your boys like to ride low.
We roll fast, but we also roll low.
Gotta lower it.
You gotta lower it.
You know, to even get this thing a little lower, we'll put a little bit lower profile tire and take these wheels and change the color. Just make it stand out a little more.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's got to be it. We can't chop the top or cut the interior out or paint it a different color or anything. I mean, we're already committing blasphemy with the Buick people. You ready to piss some people off?
That's why I called you, Bill.
Man, bringing a car in this old, this original, this cool, it's a shame just to do anything to it other than wash it. And we're just going to tear it all apart. I have my reservations, but I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it's us that's going to get our hands on it. We're going to show it the respect it deserves. And, you know, this car is so original. There's nothing been done to it. So we're going to be the first ones to do that. All our parts and pieces that we're going to build are going to make sure the car is done perfect.
Didn't you guys have one of these when you were little? Brand new?
Man, first gonna wash this thing, clean it up a little bit, a little maintenance, right?
Customer's got a different idea on that one.
Don't tell me we're cutting this up.
That's what he wants, man. The problem with this thing is the straight 8 in it is just not reliable for him. He wants something he can just get in, you know, turn the key, start it up, cruise wherever he wants to go, and not have to worry about all the issues that come with the old technology here. So what we're going to do is pull this out, put a late model LS in it, something he can just get in it, hit the key, and go wherever he wants, not have to worry about overheating or anything. We're going to replace the rear end, give him something a little more strength to it, man. This one definitely won't hold up to the power LS puts out. You know, new drive line, the whole new running gear, disc brakes, front and back. He wants this thing to be able to drop on the ground also. So we got to replace the straight axle in the front of this thing, replace it with independent front suspension and air suspension on top of that. So when he gets where he's going, drop this thing on the ground.
Hell yeah.
Man, you really don't have any issue cutting this thing up, huh?
If it ain't cut, it ain't custom.
I hear you, man, but you know, we want to give it a little extensive style. You know, something maybe like a coil pack cover to maybe go with the styling of the car.
It'll make not as many people hate us for putting an LS on this thing.
It doesn't matter what we do. They're going to hate us for pulling this one out. Let's get this thing up on the rack, start tearing it apart.
Cool.
First things first, the little one's got to rip out the old suspension and then the motor.
Man, it's crazy this old car has a gearbox style mechanism on the top of it. Usually they just have a bushing and a straight bolt, but since this is definitely not a gearbox, it's more than likely something with gears and oil. Man, they were smart back then. Everything's pretty much off the bottom. Now we can go ahead and just get this grill off. Then we can pull the engine out. Whew, that was heavier than I thought. Man, dude, look at all those springs.
And they don't really make them like this anymore, do they?
Nah, they don't at all. Here, let's get this on so we can get this motor out of here.
All right.
Back it up. It was like a Cummins engine, so huge.
I don't think I've ever seen one like it, man.
I wonder if Al Capone used this car.
Probably not, man. We don't see any bullet holes in this engine.
Designing the suspension on this old school Buick definitely has some challenges.
None of our off-the-shelf parts are gonna work, so Ryan's gotta get busy by making all custom parts.
We're gonna start now with making the mounts for the 2 links. As you can see what we get to work with here, we would typically just make our own cross member, but with the structure and everything that's going on here, I don't think it's necessary. We can reinforce this and build brackets off of this, and it will work just as well, and it will look great. That's perfect. Taking my templates over to Rudy so you can burn them out. Hey, dude. What's up? Is that quarter? That's quarter. That's quarter. I was gonna have you cut 2 of these out for me, so I could just cut this while you were doing that, but since that's quarter, I'm just gonna make you cut all of them out for me. I know you're not doing anything over there.
That's what I'm here for, right?
Appreciate you.
Once I get all my curves and lines figured out, I'll trim everything up, transfer it over into the program, cut Ryan's pieces out, clean them up, take them over to him.
Alright, so after I get my pieces cleaned off, get all the slag chipped off of these, I'll take the template and mark the lines where I need a bend. I'll use that other little template that I made, and I'll take it over to the big break, and I'll just slowly bend it until I get the right radius that I want. Everything we do is trial and error. I'd like to get it on the first time, but I don't always work out that way. Cut that out with the plasma cutter. And tack it in. Alright, so we got the plates welded into the frame, stiffen it up. Also gave us a mounting point for our 2-link tabs. The tabs basically will weld to the frame, and this is going to be your mounting point. This is your pivot point here. So this is where it's going to connect to the rear end. We'll start here and move our way to the base. All the cars are built and just so rigid. It's a really rough ride. This would be like night and day difference. This would be riding on a cloud versus riding in a wagon barrel down a gravel road, so I think what we're doing here is a little better.
Dang, man.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, man.
This thing is rough, dude.
The diesel in this dump truck came to us in rough shape. There was a lot of creative fixes and even garden hose under the hood. John, the owner, wants to keep this engine and make it reliable, so I asked the Wells family to come on in and get this thing running right.
Bro, what line was he?
No, I can see why they call it the dump truck.
This thing is terrible, man.
Oh,
Got some electrical tape there.
On a fuel hose? That's a hazard just waiting to happen.
Yeah, we've got our work cut out for us, man. First things first, let's get this big honking piece of trash off here. Let's clean that up with a newer updated intake.
Help it breathe a little more?
Yeah, get a little more power out of it. We need to change out all the radiator hoses, get all this stuff cleaned up. Watch out. You'll give it a little more appeal under the hood.
That insulation is not going to work. We're going to have to rip that out. We'll probably have to do something about the heat, so we'll heat wrap this sound pipe. What we have here is exhaust wrap. That's a firewall, getting your feet nice and hot. It also helps clean up your engine bay and make it look a lot nicer. All right, now we got all the ugliness out of it. It's time to start cleaning her up and moving forward. What we have here is a K&N air filter. They are really good about airflow. They allow air to get in and keep the most dirt and grime out of the engine. She's a lot better than she was.
That's right, bro. Let's get the hose on there. Last thing we gotta get taken care of, the safety hazard of this wiring.
Yeah, I'd hate for something bad to happen there.
These wires, when they're bunched together, can cause a break in the circuit and them to short out. The short, it can create a spark, and right here by the fuel system, it's a terrible thing to happen. So I'm gonna trim this off, put us a butt connector in here, a heat shrink one, so we can keep this sealed off from the elements. Move the wiring and take the slack out in other places so it's a smoother transition from here to main harness. And then get it all nice and zip tied out of the way so it doesn't look like trash. Well, that's it, man. I think we got it all.
We ended up having to do a few extra things to it, but I think it was well worth it. Now it's not going to catch on fire.
It looks 10 times better, a lot safer. It's ready to go, man.
School bus yellow isn't going to cut it on the dump truck. It needs a big color change to give it that militaristic, overall mean look.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. I got the color for the old dump truck. A metallic gun barrel gray is really going to be the way to go on this. Not just that, but I think I want to go with the two-tone.
Two-tone?
Black bed, black running boards, and the very, very roof I want all black also.
Damn, it's gonna look enojado.
What's that?
Real mean. Real mean.
That's it,
right,
buddy. Do it to it.
Got it.
You know, I want something on this truck that's really gonna stand the test of time. I don't want army green. I don't want the Desert Storm tan. The gunmetal gray is definitely going to make this thing look really cool, give it an aggressive look, and still be custom. John, the client, said he wanted this international dump truck to be unique. We're definitely heading in that direction. Now it's time for the custom flatbed.
Next project is getting this thing on the truck, which is not going to be an easy task because it's got such a long bed in the back we can't pick it up from the rails.
You gotta spend extra time to do every little step. You know, just picking the bed up is just one more example of how much work goes into something like this. We're about to see if it'll work.
We have the gunmetal gray, the black. It's just gonna tie together perfectly. Ready? Yeah. We'll bolt it down from there. Go down.
It's a big ass bed. This thing's finally starting to look like something.
It definitely gave it the industrial look that he was looking for.
Right? Definitely no more school bus now. This thing looks mean. Man, it's a good day. We'll get the rest of this thing tomorrow, mount this bed, start building the running boards on this thing. Good night. This truck's so tall, we're going to need some extra steps going in. So we're going to make some running boards / steps, and I'd like to make it one solid piece. The problem with that is the cab's 7 foot long, and our equipment's running boards out of 2 pieces. It just takes extra time to get everything 100%, and this truck flexes a lot, so over time it wouldn't line up as if it would if it was one piece. I'm gonna go see my old buddy Ernest at Diamond Sheet Metal. He always helps us out. I've known Ernest since I was a kid. He's one of the Northside experts I can always count on. What we got going on? Man, I'm working on Old International. Thing's way off the ground. It's a huge truck. Way off the ground, all right. So I need some running boards / steps integrated in it. Okay. I need 2 pieces, 7 foot out of 14 gauge. We can break it up to 12 foot. 10 foot, whatever you need. Well, I only need 7. I know you got the big brakes, the big shears. So whenever I can't do it, I come see you. We can have it. Well, thank you, man. All right. Give me a call, man, when you got it. I'll do it, man. Take care. When Bill shows up in my shop, I know it's something I got to hurry up and do, so I usually stop, produce whatever he wants. Back in the 70s, that's how long I've been knowing Bill. He used to lower bikes, stuff like that, and I knew he had a great future in it because if he can do it with a bicycle, he can do it with a car. We making all these marks, they got to be right on the money. These are where the brakes are going to be. If you don't mark them off right, we got to start all over. We got to mark here with a circle, it's going to be bent up. No circle, it's going to be bent on the other side, bent down. If you don't bend these things right, all the money and material is wasted. The undercarriage of this old school Buick is structurally different from most of the vehicles we work on. They just don't make them like this anymore.
You know, there's not a whole bunch to the rear of these cars. It's real thin sheet metal and a lot of wood, so we don't have a lot to work off of, and I don't want to just weld straight to the frame rail because they're like 10 gauge. It's real thin. So I'm making a foundation basically to be able to, build my rear suspension off of. What this is going to do is act as part of my frame. We'll get some bag brackets on there, some shocks, diagonal link, and we'll have a brand new suspension on the rear of this car. That's it. Let's do some shocks. Let's get some shocks in here. With the way that I'm putting the shock and where it's going to be placed, I just want a bag that's never going to hit it. Even though we do a bunch of air suspension here, every application is different for the most part. You know, the concept is the same, but actual building it and getting into it and making it functional and making it work and the geometry and staying the same, it's all different. That's what keeps this job, you know, interesting and makes it fun to come to work every day because it's not that repetitive, same old, every single day. But it's done back here and now we get to move on to the front. Got the lower control arm bolted up and the spindle bolted up. As you can see where the frame comes and where my lower control arm is, there's no room for a bag, there's no room for anything. So just like everything else, we're gonna have to make it work. Decompress with no air in the bag is gonna be 3 inches, right? I'll take this 3-inch block, describe a line all the way across. Judging by the looks of this right here, my tie rod's gonna be somewhere in this area here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just cut what we need with the plasma, make a plate to fill it. For the most part, I got everything cut out. Right now, I'm gonna get some 4-inch flat block to make my fill piece here. Nice fit. Everything is going to be built off of this plate right here for our upper bag bracket. So this is critical in making sure that this is fit up properly and welded in properly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to trim it back, get a nice fit up, get it tacked in, then we'll weld it off. And whenever you're welding, you want to get a nice weld, a nice fuse. You want to go from metal to metal. You don't ever want it to overlap completely and then just weld the outside. It's not going to get anything in there. It's not fusing anything. What I'm looking for on this is just trying to match the same radius here. Just I want that same roll all the way through so it looks like nothing was ever touched. It looks like it came like that. So just start on the flat spots first. I like to knock it down and make sure it's flat and then start rolling. So once I get it kind of close, I'll come back with the flat disc and then clean it up and get rid of most of these lines. Hit it with a DA or a wire wheel. I mean, that's pretty much it. I've been liking it. Looks real nice. We got work to do, man.
Ryan's putting together the last little bits of the front suspension on the old school Buick.
So this is exactly where it's going to be right here. Now everything's in place. I can just tie it to the top of the frame, get that tucked in there, throw a shock mount on here, and drop our motor in here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Man, I get it. I totally know what you're talking about. You know what we can do? We can just pause on it, let you think about that. Once you think about it, let me know. We'll get back on it. All right. Just the person I'm looking for. Man, I just got off the phone with Javier, with the Buick. He's not real sure of what engine he wants to put in it, so he wants to put that thing on pause for a minute. The customer needs some time to make the right decisions on the right engine, so we're going to give that to him. I get it, man. He wants to think about exactly what he wants. We don't want to give him nothing that he's not 100% sure about. The extra time always takes a toll on the bottom line, but that's what we're doing to make it right. Trust me, this thing will be perfect when it's finished.
Cut a piece 32 and 3. Don't chop it on top of the panel board.
It was a working dump truck, so the interior left a lot to be desired.
Just tape it to it.
You definitely can't have that, so John's gonna make it right.
We're building a big, badass dump truck. So we got to get something that's going to be utilitarian and follow along in design and keep up with the beating around this truck's going to get. So we're going to make some really cool door panels. The idea that we have here is we're going to make a metal kick plate. That way it's good and rugged for climbing in and out. You kick it with your boots, whatever. It's good to go. This is kind of the fun part to me, the creative part. You get in here, you get to lay this out. We're going to actually bring your idea into fruition. You know, with this truck, it's big, it's boxy, it's a beast coming down the road. So you open the door, you want to kind of have that same idea. It just needs to say, I'm ready to work. Next thing I'm gonna do, start cutting this apart, and we'll transfer it onto the base panels, and we'll get it foamed up. Here to my foam. Time to get busy. Like I haven't been busy already. Alright, now I'm just gonna trace this out. When you're cutting this foam down, if you put any kind of lean in it, and it will show up in the end, or it's tougher to have to sand out. So just kind of work keeping that blade straight up and down. We're actually going to put a beveled edge around this, and that way when it comes up, it'll dip down into the insert panel, up both sides. So just cool little detail. Get all that thing beveled back, and once that's done, we put another layer over it. I'm going to wrap the doors in marine vinyl while Jamie's cutting out the steel for the kick plates.
This is going to look really good on the door panels that John's doing. I went ahead and cut this out of 18 gauge steel, just sheared it. Now I'm going to cut it to the right size, go ahead and prep the material, and I'll bring it back to it. All right, looks good. I'm happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and bring it to John, go ahead and do a test fit real quick, and go from there.
See how she fits. Cool, man, perfect fit.
Cool, well, let me go knock out the mother 3.
Can't wait to get over to the body shop and let them get this thing painted, get this door panel together. It'll look pretty cool.
It's gonna look nice.
Panel harness did really, really good. I mean, all the angles look exactly perfect, exactly what I wanted. So next step is just get this up here and start shaping it. Hey, pretty soon we'll have a running board.
Put your hand out there.
So about 5 inches. And we made it a little bit too long so we could shrink it down, cut a little here, a little there, make this thing fit perfect. From the front fender well all the way to the bed.
Man, that's a big difference. That's nice. It's gonna make it real easy to get right on up in here.
Next step is just shaping it perfect to the fender itself.
Pretty cool little trick right there.
Used to have a sign company across the street. Showed me that. Of course, we just could have squared the ends off and put it on. You know, taking the time to shape it, to make it fit the truck.
It's like the front, just right here, needs to come in a little bit.
As if it would have came from the factory like that. That's what I want it to look like in the end. You know, no matter what we're working on, a little extra time, a little extra cut, a little extra weld makes a huge statement in the overall project. Can't wait to see this thing black up against that gray. It's really going to finish the whole thing off.
My name L1 actually means little one, and I got that name around the age of 14 doing electrical, body shop, and paint. I always wanted to keep on learning, keep on going to the next thing. Start from the bottom, work your way to the top. You gotta know how to do every single part of the job. The first thing I learned how to do was actually sweep up a shop. If you don't know how to sweep up a shop, then you shouldn't be doing much of anything else. I'm not done learning yet. This is me with 10 years experience. I want to see myself with 20 years experience, 30 years experience. You always want to get something right and then keep on learning, but you got to learn the right way with the right people. If you're not open-minded to learn from others, then you're not going to get very far in this business. I like working at Extensive. The talent here is so diverse, and it's just crazy the amount of knowledge that you can gain. If something breaks, you make it. If you can't find it, you make it. If you can't do it, you make it and you do it. And that's why we keep building the best things that come out.
And like that, what was an ugly international dump truck has become something else entirely. Installing the seats, doors, running board, 10-inch tall tires. There won't be another custom truck quite like this on the road.
Hey, Will, what's up?
Hello.
Hi, and good to see you as always.
Same.
What up, Johnny? I've known John Wood for quite some time. I love this guy, but I love messing with him too.
You got some news for me?
Well, I wanted you to come out and check this thing out. I got a couple questions on it.
That usually means there's problems, so how much more money do I owe you?
Right. I called him in, told him we had a couple issues with this truck. You already know how rough that thing is.
It shouldn't have any rust. It was covered with tar.
I can tell right now he's super worried. He thinks this is going to cost him a lot. You ready to go check it out?
Yeah, let's go see what we got going. It always bothers me when you say you have a problem and you want me to... Oh, that's not a problem. That's done. You lied to me. You're lying to my hand. Holy, that's beautiful. And it's not yellow.
Of course, there was a couple problems, but now it definitely runs and
that
drives.
Thing is bad, eh?
It's ready to roll, John.
It's really, really neat.
What do you think about the bumper on this thing? Split it, added 8 inches, made this thing way bigger with the big winch on it.
Added a winch. He even added a winch. I didn't ask for it. We're going to get it stuck sooner or later, and we're going to need the thing. I knew it was big when I saw it at the office, but in here, this thing's huge.
It was already big, but it's way, way, way bigger now.
The color choice was good.
Right? Getting rid of the school bus yellow was most definitely an essential part of the build. Changing it to gunmetal gray and making it a two-tone, it was definitely the right way to go.
Well, that's very different.
Right? You had creative fixes all throughout. This thing was a fire hazard for sure. My one-way diesel guys came in, they just fixed everything and addressed all the issues.
I knew it was bad. I had no idea it was actually a fire hazard. I'm glad they fixed it all up because, I have employees that are going to drive it and it has to be safe. Wow.
What do you think about this thing?
I love it. This is great.
Right? This is way better before. Those old steps on this thing, you can see all the frame. Couldn't have that new running boards on this thing and integrated the steps in it.
Vertically challenged, dude. I have to wait to get up there. You refinished it all. New seats, carpet, door panels. Wow. I bet it doesn't even stink in
new smell in there. Just had to rip all that out. Had the seats redone, got new carpet in it, and there was no door panels in this thing.
Right.
So John and Daniel hooked you up with that. We could have just wrapped this thing, changed the color.
This is way better than a wrap.
This is going to represent your company and mine, so we got to do this thing right, man.
Absolutely. Now on to the good stuff.
Right? What do you think about that?
It looks correct.
No more dump truck, right?
No more dump truck for sure.
Cut the back of the frame off, scooted the axle forward. All the suspension was all handmade underneath this thing. It's got a huge 4-link on this with big triple bellow bags, so you can haul whatever you put on the back of this thing can haul it.
Wow.
And ride.
And ride
super
good.
Smooth. And the bed was built specifically for this truck. You see the big wheel well opening. Yeah. So what do you think, man? Is it going to work for you?
Absolutely. I'm afraid to scratch it now. The bed scale matches the truck scale with the giant wheels and tires. It's a functional truck, and we're going to work this truck. You can tell the people that do this, they're craftspeople.
That's right. We all have passion for what we do, for sure. This is just one more example just to show how good a guy in the shop just kicked ass time and time and time again. I know this thing is going to do everything you could ever want with it and even way, way more.
Thank you. This
is the trophy.
I'll know I did a good job when it looks like you can just dive into this paper.
This thing makes 627 horsepower and 586 foot-pounds of torque, so this thing is going to be a tire shredder for sure.
The old school 1934 Buick, and yeah, a lot more power and a lot more reliability.
So we got us a little situation here.
The new old school.
What? Yeah.
This is very quickly becoming one of my favorite cars.
Wow,
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas metal.
Well, that hasn't been separated in a long time, huh?
It looks good. Everything's clean. All sheet metal looks pretty nice. You ready to roll it out?
Yep, let's go.
We're known for custom trucks, but, whatever rolls through the door, we're going to get our hands on it and give it a little extensive touch to it. And when we're building a 49 Cadillac for NFL Hall of Famer Earl Campbell, this guy's a living legend. So everybody in the shop's got to be on point and make sure this thing's going to be perfect. This car is special, and I'll say that about all of them, but this one's is definitely special.
I think it's your turn, buddy, to finish her.
I appreciate it, man.
It's been months of metal work and body work just to get to this point. When people see all the custom touches that are all throughout this car, they're gonna know it's Earl Campbell's. It's always a little bonus in the day when you get something major done, like just pulling the frame out, getting it cleaned up, getting it loaded off the powder coat. It's just a huge accomplishment. Considering how Earl's car came into what it is now, finally feels like we're getting something done. Thank you. Well, this thing is going to be a cool car. Earl, where's the first place you're going to take this car?
In Austin, Texas, there's a little hamburger joint. Been there since the 40s. I hang out there. That's where the cars meet on Thursday night. So that's going to be my first appearance in this 49.
All right, man. You make me hungry.
I know. What's for lunch, burgers?
Earl, man, I'd really like to take you in the shop and show this thing to you at the stage it's at, but you've seen it in pieces enough. If you can bear with me, just wait just a little longer, I promise you, it's going to be extra special for you to see this thing totally finished.
I can't wait, Bill.
For the most part, Earl's just been leaving the design for the Caddy to us. But Earl called me a couple days ago, said he had some ideas for the color accents for the interior.
I'm going to tell you, man, I can't wait to see it. But when I was coming through town, I bought you some UT that I like that interior to look like. This is the real UT orange, what I used to wear when I was in college. And now I don't need a number 20 on the leather, but everything else I would love for the inside to look like that.
So you don't want just us to get material to match this color. You actually want to use the UT jersey.
UT jersey, that orange
in the car.
In the car. I got to have that orange in it.
Man, that's pretty cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just some touches all throughout. When you're building a car for Earl Campbell, you really want those touches to stand out. And putting these jerseys in the interior, this is definitely the way to go. Everybody's going to know whose car it is.
Oh, yeah. I feel like a junior high football player getting promoted to the varsity on that level.
We built a lot of cool cars and trucks around, but this is by far probably definitely my favorite one.
A 49 Caddy.
Yes, sir.
An orange interior. That's going to be great.
Man, we're going to make it happen.
You got it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Shock me. Knock me out of my socks, but I'm ready.
All right.
How's she looking? It's looking real good. Considering, where it's at now and where it started with, night and day. Repairing the rust on this thing, rebuilding the floor, the drive shaft tunnel, transmission tunnel, building this car to the new chassis, to the new suspension, to the new engine, the LSX under the hood, man, this is going to be cool.
Just the hours that are in this area, much less the rest of the car.
There's definitely a lot of custom modifications to this thing, especially the firewall, to really get this thing looking like a car. When Earl pops a hood on this thing,
man, he's going to be so impressed.
For the new LSX, we're making custom intakes and exhaust, and it's wheels, tires, and brakes. As soon as we get this thing painted, we're going to get it over to interior for custom door panels, seats, console, and headliner. The stereo that's going in this thing, all the little custom accents. You know what you give a guy that has everything? 49 custom Cadillacs, that's what you give them. The only thing left to do is just paint it and then everything else. Let's start with just the paint.
Let's get it in the booth.
Let's get it pushed in there. All right, man. You got this?
Got this.
You know, one of the things Earl wanted from the very beginning is black paint. And Chris is getting that thing going now.
We are going to make sure that we get enough paint on this car that any imperfections or whatever, we want them to be covered. We'll put as many coats as it takes to get this car as black as possible. I met Bill back when we were, in our teens. We were in a truck club here in Houston, and he started doing air suspension. He did some work on one of my trucks a long time ago. I think when I was 18. I did it for 15 years straight. It's fun to do. I enjoy it. I grew up watching Earl Campbell play football, and, people are going to see this car, and whoever knows it and who don't know it, at least I'll know I painted it. I'll know I did a good job when I can tell that it looks like you can just dive into this paint job because the color is going to look so deep. Cadillac out of the booth, and now that it's painted and cleared, the next process is wet sanding and buffing. It has an orange peel texture, kind of leathery looking. That's why they call it orange peel. It looks like the peel of an orange. What we want to do is sand this down with our blocks of different sandpapers, get it slick as possible, and then we're going to come back and buff it to give it that nice mirror finish. The guys did such a good job on this firewall doing the bead rolling on it that I can't use this block on because it will burn the paint. When I say burn it, I mean sand through the paint. We have real problems if I do that. We'll block the flat areas with this block and sandpaper, and then we'll have to come back by hand and get around all the bead rolls with finer grit sandpaper. And I know where I can and can't go because, like I said, we do not want to burn this paint at this stage in the game. Okay, this is our last step in our wet sanding process. We've got 3,000 grit sandpaper on our DA sander. We'll run over this real quick and then we'll be ready to buff. And when we start buffing, that's what's going to bring out that mirror shine that we're looking for. You have to spend the time on it to make it as slick and smooth as possible, or when this thing's buffed, you'll be able to see every flaw that's in it. All right, we just completed the wet sanding, buffing, and polishing part of our firewall here, which is the final step in a paint job. The only thing we got left now is to do the whole rest of the car.
Most of the guys working here have spent their whole lives in Houston. John, is a lifer too. He just couldn't wait to get going on the interior. Because for guys like us, Earl's just a local legend.
I'm getting ready to start the door panels and the interior on Earl's Caddy here. So what I've done is I've just laid out some templates on the doors and the panels all the way in. Here, I got me a pencil, good eraser. We'll just sit here and figure out what we're going to make here and try to get everything incorporated in all at one time and get everything drawn out so we'll see the whole piece. We got the basic sketch down of where we're headed to, so now it's just a matter of how do we get UT in here. We don't want to make it overpowering. It needs to stay kind of subtle and just an accent in the car. So what we might do is put some sort of insert spot behind that. That might work. After looking at the placement of where I've got this armrest in relation to the seat, it's going to have to move up. So I'm really happy with the shape that I have of the armrest. So I'm going to transfer that onto another piece. This is how these things work. You just sit here and stare at them and think about it a little while, and it'll come to you. It'll all make sense. And so I like to just sit here early in the morning, quietly, enjoy my coffee, and sketch. So all I gotta do is just lift it up and stick it to another piece of board. We just stick that down. I'll take an Alpha knife, cut that out, and that'll give me my template to work with so I can put this wherever I want it at on here. So what I'm thinking here is armrest just needs to move up to about right there. That looks good. I like where we're headed with this.
Even though there was assembly lines back when Earl's 1949 Cadillac was made, a lot of stuff was made by hand. There wasn't any robots. And we're taking the same approach from the metalwork to the interior.
Earl showed up the other day, brought in some jerseys. wanted us to work these into the car somehow. So my thought here is to take and use those to create that Cadillac V and drop that in right here underneath these pillows. Ought to look really cool. Just a nice pop of that burnt orange in the car without being too overwhelming. Ought to turn out looking really cool. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out the rest of the seams on the seat. I'm going to start laying out the bolsters first. I got a template that I've already drawn out for that. Make sure I have everything lined up. I want the lines exactly where I want them. In the center, what we're going to do is we're going to draw out a 2-inch tuck and roll. It's just something that was used classically back in the hot rod days. It's basically they take and they roll the leather over and you tuck it in with some foam, and it actually makes these pillow tops. Just kind of keep it the old school feeling of the 49 Cadillac, and then we'll have that modern touch of this nice, hard, solid, shaped out pillow on the top here that still has that lean to the classic styles. All right. You know, everything in here has got a nice flow. We've still got that classic feel to it with the tuck and roll. I think this little pop of orange up here in the top for these V's is going to be, get them into the trim shop, and we'll get them covered.
Put the old school 1934 Buick Model 57 on hold because the owner wanted to figure out what kind of power plant he wanted to use. He ended up with the late Model 5.3, and now we're back at it.
Got it, huh?
Got it. This is perfect for this old Buick.
It always sucks to see a project get pulled off the lift, but I'm glad he made up his mind exactly what he wanted. Now we can move forward with the rest of the car.
I wasn't really feeling taking this thing apart. It was so pristine, so original. It was hard to cut into it, but we pulled out the stock straight 8 motor, ripping out the old suspension and start building fresh, get the steering all mocked up. I mean, this thing's going to be a new car all underneath once we're done, especially with the new 5.3.
It just had to have a new motor and transmission in it.
Exactly, man. Power, reliability. He'll never have to worry about this for sure.
I can't wait to see this thing come together. It's going to be a really, really nice old school.
The new old school.
The new old school.
Out here today, and we're about to go drop the LS into the Buick.
The old school straight 8 is a lot wider than the straight 8. So once little one gets this thing in, we have to mock up a new steering configuration.
All right, just make sure that it doesn't hit the headlight or the paint.
Okay. Go ahead.
In?
Yeah.
This engine's pretty dirty, but when we're done with it, it's gonna look spotless.
Come in. Slowly, slowly. Watch the front bumper.
Yeah. All right, we clear?
Yeah.
Now, we get that angle under it, then we need one more in the front, and then we can go ahead and start moving it around. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now that we have the header mocked up and the engine fully on its own in the car, the steering has to be moved now too.
The owner still wants to keep as much of that original interior as possible. So we're trying to keep the old steering column.
The key to work on these beautiful cars is you gotta do yoga at least once a week. Since I can't cut right outside on the firewall, we gotta take the ignition off, release the column, and pull it out without damaging this nice, beautiful interior. Beep, beep. That was easy, wasn't it? Got it out.
Cool, man. Keeping the old column just fit the whole original interior in this is definitely the way to go about it. There's a problem with that, though. We don't have any way to adapt the original column to the rack and pinion that we're going to put underneath there. So we have an end of an old column. I want to graft this on to the original one.
All right.
That way we can adapt all this right to the rack and pinion, and everything will work right.
Right.
You know where to cut.
Got it.
Quick, easy, right? No, this just goes to show you there's something that wasn't even thought of when we set out to do this little project. But, that's just what we do. We deal with them, keep on rolling. Got that.
It's kind of like a Russian doll. Everything just goes in piece after piece after piece, and they're all gonna fit in perfect. Now it's time to put all the pieces together and make this custom 1934 2020 steering column. So this is not our finished product until it gets painted and fully installed, but now we're ready to mock up our rack and pinion. I gotta wash my hands because I do not want to get this interior. A while ago we were sticking all the way here, almost touching the header. Now we're right at the firewall, exactly where we measured, exactly where we wanted it to be. From here we can pivot around it and we can go straight into our rack and pinion that's gonna end up being up there in the front.
So we got us a little situation here. Our rack is way up there in front, like almost a foot in front of the engine. And with our column coming out like right behind the cylinder head, we need to detour our steering shaft around the exhaust header and then go back straight to the rack. So we have to make us like a two-piece steering shaft with the center U-joint mounted on a heim joint. We got to get this thing as close as possible to the header without touching. That way it doesn't put this U-joint in so much of an angle, which is going to cause hard spots in your steering. We have 3 U-joints. There's nothing to hold it in the middle. We got to support it with this heim joint. And what this is going to do is hold this shaft in the center from moving around and hitting the headers into the chassis. That way it'll support this from moving around. We got everything in place. Now we're ready to give this a rotation. Check it out. Man, this steers pretty good. I don't feel any hard spots. I think we got this set up pretty good. Now we definitely know this car's gonna steer in the right direction.
Definitely not going to make a lot of new friends with the Buick crowd cutting into this original 34 Buick. But we're still doing what we can to give this thing the respect it deserves. I have Edgar color matching the engine to the cab, and Matt's adding a super clean serpentine setup.
So now we got our motor in here. We're gonna go ahead and start getting the front drive assembly on, the water pump, alternator, and everything that gets the motor running. So with this bracket here, it holds the water pump, the alternator, power steering pump. It allows everything to be more compact and gives us a lot more clearance, especially when a car like this, we barely have any clearance in the engine bay, so it tightens everything up and gives it a nice look. Now that we got our bracket on, we'll go ahead and mount our power steering pump up. We're still real tight on clearance, but it fits, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Now it's lean, mean, and ready to be seen. Got it.
Yes, man.
Definitely a big improvement from what was in it.
A lot more power and a lot more reliability.
And it kind of looks like it belongs.
Yeah, it just looks right at home in this thing. Man, Matt, it's all downhill now, huh?
Yes, sir.
You know, there's so much room on the backseat of this 49 Cadillac that John has plenty of space to come up with a couple of one-off speaker enclosures.
So what I'm gonna do to take up this space here is I'm gonna use it as a subwoofer enclosure. I'm gonna take my subwoofer, flip it upside down and down fire it into the pocket over here. Get a little back pressure loaded on the front of the subwoofer. It'll improve the sound a little bit. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Pretty cute. I'll start with the baffle of the box, and I can take that and I start building the walls of the box up and around and get the shape to it that I'm looking for. Figure out how we're gonna go about tying this whole big piece together. Let's start with the back wall that needs to be curved. Basically just cutting it every 1/4 of an inch, almost all the way through, and that'll allow it to bend and shape to the fender well just fine. So once I get my angle cut on it, I can go put it in the car and get it stuck. This enclosure is a little different than most of the enclosures that we build around here. It will actually become the interior trim panel of the car. We'll make a top piece that comes out but it won't come out all the way. It'll stop shy over here with some shape in it, and we'll bring it all back into here to go down. And this will turn into your armrest area up here. So when you're sitting in the back seat, you're in an armrest here, and this will all sculpt down towards the seat. In order for this material to make the shape that I want, I've made these ribs, and we'll put them around in a couple of places, and that'll give us something to attach our material to and start fiberglassing. Just gonna take a piece of this flex form carpet here, push this down in here. It'll take the shape that we want. We'll get it stapled down. That should be perfect. Now that we got that worked out, next thing we'll do is take some fiberglass resin, start piling it on here, and wait for it to get dry enough to touch so we don't get it all over the car. And once it's to that point, we're gonna put it back in the car, continue building our panels around it, get everything tied in. When you're building your custom panels like this, you wanna make sure that you keep everything in consideration, keep things nice and tight so you have one nice cohesive flow through your entire panel.
Edgar painted the new LSX for Earl's 49 Cadillac. And of course, it's Texas Longhorn Orange. And we got our custom chassis back from Powder Coat. We're putting it all together with brand new air lines, brand new brake lines, all new stainless bolts, and of course, brand new Billy wheels.
Starting to look like a car now. Yeah, looks good with 4 wheels on it. Man, now you can actually see how the contrast is coming together. The little pop of the motor color is going to tie into a little bit of interior color. It's going to make the whole car a complete package. Man, this car is fit for Earl Campbell.
Definitely. I hope he'll let me borrow it one day.
When you're getting the body ready to put on the frame, it makes for a really, really good day. Seeing the big pieces, man, it gets me excited. This is very quickly becoming Iron Caddy is about to be born today. I sure be liking that chassis. You should probably set it down on there, huh?
Yeah.
Looking good.
Looks real good.
You know, these were the colors he was wearing when he won the Heisman Trophy. You gotta love this, right?
Right. Man, especially being his first custom car.
I'd be happy with this, my 100th custom car.
Like a V?
Yeah, dude, it sure is. Just for this car.
With all the work we've done to Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac, there's still something missing. So I asked Justin to build a couple of custom downpipes.
Right here on Earl's Cadillac, we got the LSX 454 crate motor stabbed in there. This thing makes 627 horsepower and 586 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM, so this thing's going to be a tire shredder for sure. So we're going to go ahead and get our throttle bodies mounted up so we can start doing our charge pipes. We got these billet throttle bodies. They're twin 102 millimeter throttle bodies, so it's going to supply a lot of air to this big cubic inch motor. We have our aluminum mandrel bins. They're 3 now. We can kind of see that there's a lot of room in the engine bay, so we get creative on this intake system. Well, since he went to UT and old Vivo over there, we're going to go ahead and do it where it looks like almost 2 horns in the center. 5 inches off of each horn. I marked 5 inches from the end of our tube so that both of our tubes match up, and I'm going to use the tape pretty much to connect the dots so that we have a good clean cut line to follow. Let's go cut some pipe. Basically, since this is a big 454 cubic inch engine, we need to make sure that we can supply it with enough air to make that power. So that's the reason we chose the 3.5 inch dual throttle body setup. And we're going to try to put the filter placement where we're pulling good, clean, fresh air right in the front of the vehicle. So I like the way that the intake has that X pattern, so we're going to try to emulate that with our intake tubes. It's looking like we can take this 180-degree bend, split it in half, use that 90-degree angle, and it should put our pitch right exactly where we're wanting. So now that we have all of our tubes cut, you can kind of see the direction we were talking about in the beginning where we wanted our placement of our air filters. And now that we have it with the tape kind of securing the 2 tubes in place, we can get it pulled off and go weld it up. So on this tube here, I'm going to end up welding it clockwise, coming around this way. And on this tube here, I'm going to come counterclockwise. It's going to give it one of those little small details that most people wouldn't notice, but, you know, to the ones that do it, they'll appreciate it. So we're gonna go test fit them on a caddy, see how they look. If everything looks good, we can go ahead and pull them off and polish them. So now that we got everything wrapped up, everything's installed, see everything fits like we wanted, I think Earl will be real happy with this when he sees it.
After a lot of hard work and some tough decisions, this 1934 Buick's finally done. You know, I was really reluctant about cutting out all the old factory suspension, but once we got into it, that's what we do.
Bill called me and said the car was ready to come and look at it, so I invited the guys, Silveranos Car Clubs of Houston. All my friends are here, their cars are here. We're all excited to look at the Buick.
What's going on, man?
See you, man.
Javier, how you doing, man? Good to see you. What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's up?
You got the whole crew out, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You know, after looking at your whole crew's cars, I can definitely see why you wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, man. I got to keep up with them, so.
Yeah. Your Buick now, it'd definitely fit in with the crowd for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. All right. Hey, good deal, man. Man, she looks pretty. Damn, Lord. Oh, my God. Good deal, man. Awesome. All right, man. Good job, man. Good, man.
Man, what you think about that thing?
Man, it looks good. Beautiful. I love the way it looks, the stance, the wheels.
You know, first things first, we got this thing on the lift and just started fresh with a new rear end, built independent front suspension for it with all air all the way around. That thing's gonna ride good, handle good, and be reliable for sure.
Now you know why I asked you to do what I wanted to do, right?
You know, Javier, I gotta admit, once this thing's down on the ground like that, man, it changes the whole look.
Yeah.
Definitely made the right decision for sure.
Yeah.
One other thing you wanted was the reliability and some power under the hood, right?
Right.
Let's check out under the hood.
How'd you fit that thing in there?
Started out ripping that old engine and trans out and just getting a pull-out 5.3, stripping it all down, really dressed it up, make it look good. So when you pop the hood, you got something to be proud of.
Man, wonderful.
It was tough, but definitely worth it. We had to do a vintage era frame that's such a narrow frame in it. We had to custom make all the steering to get around the headers, and everything had to be one off, especially because of the fitment.
The old engine looked like an antique. This is state of the art. This car went from being real cool to real gangster.
You probably got 10 times the power that this thing came with. We'll see if you can keep some tread on these old cokers here.
All right, can't wait.
Taking a late model engine, sticking in such an antique car, you think it'd probably stick out. But all the work we put into this engine, making it look the way it does, it's like it was made for this car. What do you guys think, man? You gonna let this guy cruise around with you?
Yeah. I'm so happy now that I can just get in this car, start it up, and show it off. Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right.
You know, sometimes in this business, you really got to lean on your guys. You know, on the caddy, we really had to lean on John. You know, he's really coming through. Every little detail he's adding is 100.
We get started on the rear deck for the 49 caddy. We're going to start by cutting out our base out of MDF. We'll take that over to the car, get that in place, and start building it up from there. The back deck has a curve in it, so we'll make two pieces. I'm going to take some fiberall here and mix it up and use that to actually put these two pieces, especially with it being up here in the rear deck of the car. You know, it takes a lot of heat up here. We want something that's really going to be able to stand up and not give us any issues. This will be the riser that'll come up from the rear deck that helps tie it into the back of the seats. All right, we got this thing all dried up, positioned, ready to go. So I'm gonna pop this thing out, take it across the way, put it on the table, and we'll finish it out there.
You know, Earl Camel's 49 Cadillac is just one of those builds where we're just making as many parts as we can by hand. Ryan's finishing up the custom exhaust on one side. Now he's mirror imaging it to the other.
The first side is always the easiest. Mirroring it is the hardest part about it. It's just a lot of marking, fine-tuning, a bunch of small cuts until you get that final exact perfect fit that we're looking for. And you know, it's easier to cut a little bit at a time than cut a whole bunch and then have to either add or go find another piece and start all over again. Well, the reason I'm putting the V-band here is because the muffler and all that, all the way to the header is all one piece right now, and one full piece. Houston, 40 degrees in the morning, 80 degrees at lunch. At this point, the exhaust is the most complex of it all because of this bin that I got right here, and then just what I have to work with and just the limited amount of space. So trying to make this work and flow and not cause any restriction and also clear everything is pretty tricky, but hopefully I can get exactly what I'm looking for out of this and make it go all the way and dump out the back instead of stopping right here. Alright, so I didn't let it beat me. We were able to make it come all the way out to the back. That's gonna look tight from the back. Whenever you're driving behind it, see that? That's gonna look dope. So now all we got left to do is just make some hangers, drill some O2 bungs, weld it all up, and throw it back in the car. I think if Earl ever gets to take a look underneath this car, he should be very happy. I know I am.
What's up, man?
What's going on, Bill?
On this build, there was a lot of parts had to get chromed, but that grill, that grill's something special. We had to make sure this thing shined. You got something for me?
Oh, yeah, I got something for you, buddy. I got your grill.
Man, that thing looks good, Victor.
It's a 1940.
Dip this thing in chrome, but...
Yeah, I mean, you do it in 30 minutes. Nah.
You had to take the whole thing apart, huh?
The whole thing apart. Yeah. Okay, these 5 pieces right here, they're made of stainless steel. So you got to be careful with them, when you polish them and chrome plate them.
Yeah, and it's not just this either. Of course, you got such a good reflection. You look down here, you see everything up here. Yeah, so everything back here has to look just as good.
Like that.
Because this thing's pretty much a mirror now.
Yeah.
Victor, you sure this is the same one?
The same one, buddy.
This thing looks brand new. I think it's better new.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
Man, I appreciate it, Victor.
It's all yours, buddy. Just be careful now.
Right?
Yeah.
A ton of interior work's been done in this 49 Cadillac, but there's still a ton more to go. John's got his work cut out for him, building custom speaker pods, cup holders, and pockets. Man, these door panels are gonna be cool.
So now I got the speaker pod and cup holder pocket all ground out in shape. The next component that I need to finish for the door panel is the armrest. So I'll just take my template here, just gonna trace it out. I'll come in and rough cut it, and we'll route it. Alright, got them all cut out. Next step to do, sand them down, glue them up, and then stack them. You just kind of come up with ideas in your head and then think of ways to execute your ideas. The stacking method here is basically just to get a big chunk to carve out of, as you would any other sculpture, really. So the next thing you're going to do is got to put the hand pull in this thing. I've got a template here, so I'll have it for both sides. Trace it out. All of this in here is going to get carved out, so we have some place to put fingers, grab a hold of it, and close it. Earl came in the other day. He had a challenge. He really wants to get this UT burnt orange color in the car. We're going to take this, cut it up, and wrap a few pieces. That will work. This is where all that body working and sanding really starts to pay off. You can actually start to see what you've made, see the final product. Everything starts to come together. You can see all your lines, your details, and if you don't put all that time and effort into it, when you get to this point, it'll start to show too. All right, well, that's a wrap. Only thing left to do now is get it on the car and get the speakers in it, and get everything buttoned up, and this thing will be ready to roll.
I love working on Cadillacs because that's just the car of the industry.
It's one of those cool cars that was always fun because they were the luxury of the time.
Cadillac rolls in here.
We're all fighting to work on it.
I hope I get to work on it.
John knows with that Cadillac, he can put 15 speakers in the trunk. You can make it as low as you want and make it go as fast as you want.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be the porter and drive around the parking lot. I mean, that's what I want to do. Of course, we did the 59 for Slim. We cut the roof off, made it a Roadster.
Night and day difference in that
just
car.
doing the windshield wrap around on that car.
Yeah, stretching the back out, moving the seats that far back to make room for
That's
him.
one thing Cadillacs always had, is plenty of room.
Nothing said America like Cadillac.
As American as...
apple pie. They'll keep making them. We'll keep customizing them. People keep eating them.
killing people every week. You just rooted for him, you know, every time he played. You know, when people hear now that we're building a car for Earl Campbell, you hear all the stories of how good a player he was and just how he dominated everybody on the field. You know, every step of the way on this 49 Cadillac, you know, Earl's been an inspiration to us. You know, the consistency, you know, that's what we were going for in building this Cadillac. You know, so today it's an honor to give Earl his car back. The 49 Cadillac is something I'm very proud of, and every guy in the shop is proud of. I'm kind of jealous, man. This is a cool car.
Hey, Tim, you can't tell me anything about this car, man.
Man, I don't want to tell you anything. I want to keep it a surprise for you till Bill gets here. One thing I will tell you is it's all in one piece now. All them buckets it showed up in and records that it showed up on, it's in a whole lot better shape than what it was.
Earl came all the way from Austin to Houston just to see this car we built for him. You know, the last time you seen it, it was in thousands of pieces. I can't wait to show it to him now.
How you doing, Bill?
Man, what's going on?
I'm going to see that bad 49 Caddy. Oh, yeah, man.
Man, you saved me just in time. You've been picking my brains wanting to see this thing.
What do you think, Earl? I know you've been waiting a while. You ready to see this thing?
I'm ready. I can't wait, Bill.
Man, Timmy, let's do it.
Here she comes.
It was fun building this. This is something we're all super proud of for sure.
Come on, man, hurry up. Let's get this car uncovered. Look at that. Whoa, man, that is great.
What you think, Earl?
Golly, Bill, when this car first got here, that paint job, that black. Man, that bumper, that's a hell of a lot of chrome.
There's plenty of black and plenty of chrome on this thing.
Oh, man, that's great.
Man, Earl, you know, it's a huge challenge to make, you know, parts in the parking lot into a car looking like this. You know, we first started off getting this thing on the lift, doing rust repair. You know, getting a car this old, this straight, and the gaps right on this, the body guys, that's showing their skills right there. A 49 Cadillac don't come like that. You make it like that.
Yeah, especially when the panels come in the back of a truck all thrown together, just thrown in that truck.
Come on, man, you guys won't let me forget that, huh?
You know, especially black. You know, looking down the side of this thing is laser straight.
Man, that is beautiful.
You know, building a chassis on this thing, Earl, motor mounts, new rear end, new front suspension, air suspension, so this thing lays real low to the ground too. Every nut, bolt, everything is 100% brand new. You have a brand new 49 Cadillac.
Just to see it all put together, I was amazed. I mean, the chrome on it, the lovely lady on the front. I mean, I just can go on. I just couldn't believe it.
Earl, you had a couple stipulations. You wanted this car to be some power under the hood.
That's right.
We got something for you under there.
Let's see. Good nurse.
Earl, you said you wanted some power under the hood in this thing. The 454 LSX is the one for it.
And burnt orange.
Yep.
That's great, man.
Building all new firewall in this thing, all new sheet metal molded onto the fenders, new core support. John came in and just bead roll you a nice, cool panels in there. You know, it's got the little Cadillac V recessed down in it.
On the wall, man. It's unbelievable.
You know, Earl, when Justin was making the air intakes of this, he took a design cue from, you know, UT mascot Bevo, kind of replicated the Longhorn on the
Yeah, sure, you kind of see this at the entrance.
Right? One of your honors in life was a Hall of Fame, so we wanted to make you a medallion here to hold the two pipes together. John machined us a deal. This is 1991 Hall of Fame with a little football on it.
You know, there's no mistaking whose car this is.
That's right.
Let's check out the interior of this thing.
Wow.
Man, last time you seen this thing, there was just piles and piles and piles of parts for the interior on this thing, right?
Yes, man. It's got the burnt orange on the door.
Man, we know you had to have that UT orange. We sewn them into the interior itself. All this is handmade by old John Burgess himself.
Yes, he did a great job.
You know, it's got you a little something special back there in the rear deck as well.
Yes.
You get the little Longhorns incorporated in the back, all the way up into the Dakota Digital gauges.
But there's some special numbers in your life of what you've been through. So 20, you were a Heisman at UT.
That's right.
34, you were a Houston Oiler, and then 91, you went to Hall of Fame.
That's right. There's no doubt everything in this car says Earl Campbell. I mean, they went out of their way and beyond. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. Oh, man. Good grief. That's down in the dirt.
That just changes the whole attitude, right?
Yes, sir. When you see that 49 caddy sitting up, that's one thing. But when you see it go down all the way in the grass, that's bad. You got a 49 after that.
I try to make this thing as comfortable and as cool for you as possible. It's got 24x9s in the front and 22x12s in the rear.
I never seen a rim like that before. That's one of a kind. I love it. What a beautiful car.
I like your car, man.
I'm happy it's mine. I'm happy it's mine. Thank y'all very much for what y'all done. You and your team should be very proud.
The whole process from start to finish, it took some time. It was a labor of love for every guy. I can't thank my guys enough. And this is just one more example of us just